All right, all right, all right. Welcome to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Ewell. Today, we're going to be talking about my own fitness journey and just the transformation that I'm in the process of making. And I want to walk through today just, kind of like what that looks like, what made me really decide to do this, and then how it could potentially apply to you.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
So as we get into today, I want to talk briefly about, comfort. So one of the things that I find is, comfort is one of our worst places we could be. And what does that mean? That means that we can get comfortable in what we're doing. We can get comfortable in our environment. We can get comfortable in what we used to do, which keeps us from changing or keeps us from getting uncomfortable. So as I kind of have witnessed myself over the last few years, kind of think about the things I used to be able to do, and the accomplishments I've had physically. I will say this, that my body is something that I have, always kind of taken pride in. I've, played college sports, college football, worked out for the last 32, 33 years. And so there's been different times in my life where, I've pushed myself physically, probably beyond what most people, 98, 99% of people have ever done in their life. But with that being said, it's easy to lean on past accomplishments and think that you're not that far away. So I was on a call a few weeks ago and challenged some of the guys that I coach and said, like, hey, here's what I'm going to do, man. I'm going to go on a challenge for the next 6 weeks. And my goal is to drop 5% body fat. Well, the problem is as I thought about it, I'm like, man, this is something I used to be able to do at any point in time, 20s, 30s, even like late 30s. And as I kind of went through this, I'm like, well, I'm just going to change my diet. I'm just going to start doing this. One of the things that I started to recognize right away was not having a system was just not working for me. And so what does that mean? That means when I decide to make a change, yes, it's important to take action. Yes, it's important to do things, but without having a solid system that's specifically towards that goal, essentially I'm just using way more energy than I needed to. So as I began to change a few things, number one thing I changed was started increasing my protein intake to my lean body mass. So as I started this, I think I was 221 at 15.3% body fat, which if you know me, I probably used to walk around 12% body fat fairly easy without having to really do a whole lot. But that's kind of raised the ceiling to 15. And, when I think about it, is like, okay, that story of me walking around at 12% without having to do a whole lot with my diet has kept me comfortable and made 15% my new ceiling. And so I would always look at 12%. I wouldn't look at what I actually was. Then when I got it checked, I was like, oh man, I guess I'm not like what I used to be, right? So that story was holding me back from actually moving forward. So having a system is what is going to help me achieve the results, not relying on the story that I used to be this, right? And so as I thought about this, I'm like, man, I can sit here and change all these things, or I can just get a system together and say, what things would I need to change if I wanted to achieve 10% body fat in the next 6 weeks? So a few weeks goes by and, my body fat doesn't change more than about 1%. And so I'm like, okay, well, I guess losing 6%, 5% body fat in the next 6 weeks, I'm already, 2.5 weeks into it and I'm down 1%. I need to change something, go back to my system, start changing some things, doing some different style workouts, doing some different style cardio. And now I can continue to move forward, but understanding that if I didn't have a system, I would just be randomly changing things. Okay. So having a system when it comes to anything that we're doing is always easier to change than changing individual things that you don't have a system on. Because if I begin to change too many things at once, I don't know what's working or what may not be working. Okay. Second thing is anytime we begin to make a change, what I always begin to recognize is the change that we're about to take place doesn't happen exactly the way we think it's going to happen. And sometimes in that, we believe things are going to happen a certain way. And then when they don't, we get frustrated and triggered by that. But that is the exact resistance that we forget about when we don't put ourselves in uncomfortable situations. And so the normal pattern, once we feel the resistance, we kind of run the other way. And then we seek out, something that's more comfortable. And so as I was going through this, I even started to see myself, well, hey, I'm not going to make it over the next 6 weeks. So what does it matter if I eat this, or what does it matter that I eat that? And so that usually hits around that third week, fourth week, as maybe you're not seeing the results exactly the way you wanted them. But here's the thing is, I haven't really been paying attention to my diet. I haven't really been paying attention to my workouts. I haven't really been paying attention to my weight for probably a good 2 years, 2.5 years. Although I do work out every day, I do pay attention to those things. But once I started to pay attention to my diet, although my body fat hasn't went down a whole lot, I've started to recognize changes in energy. I've started to recognize changes in like my shirts. Things are beginning to fill out differently than they were. And even up until last week, I noticed that even though my weight has probably went up about 3 pounds, my body fat is down over 1%. Not only that, but my lean muscle mass is up about 4.5 pounds. So what that tells me is I'm actually losing fat, gaining muscle. It may not be at the pace I want or the rate I want, but it is a good starting point for me. And it's allowing me to kind of get refocused on the process, not on the result. And that's another thing I want to talk about, because it's so easy to get focused on the results, like getting down to 10% body fat, getting down to 10% body fat, and that being the only thing that I focus on versus focusing on the process. I got to work out today. I need to eat this many grams of protein today. I need to do this much of cardio. Those things are much easier to focus on than just staring at the results, because results will never get me results. My routine, my system, and the things that I need to do, those are truly going to be the things that are going to help me get there. And so walking through this is really allowing me to get back into love with the process, get back into love with the system of what I'm doing, where I can focus on that versus just focusing solely on the results, which is what I was focusing on in the beginning. And so if you're listening to this, whether your goal is to make X amount of money, whether your goal is to lose weight, whether your goal is to do anything, when we stare at the results and we don't stare at the work or the process, it gets very discouraging. And maybe a better way to put it is, if we stare at the top of the mountain and we're at the bottom, it gets discouraging to see the distance that we have to go. But if we just look at what the next step is, then it's much easier to focus on that. And so it's almost like looking at what you need to focus on. Do you need to focus on the top of the mountain, or do you need to focus on the next step? What's the step, regardless of the mountaintop or, the bottom? The only way I'm going to get to the mountaintop is I got to take the next step. And the only thing that I should be focusing on is that next step, because that's what's truly going to help me get the results I want. So if you guys are listening to this, having a system is going to be key to whatever you do, whether you want to make more money, whether you want to lose weight, you want to change your body. System is number one. Number two is stop focusing on the results and focus on the routine, which again goes back to the system. We can stare at results all day long, but that will not change your results. And then the last piece of this is don't make a mountain out of a molehill. And so although I've only lost 1%, maybe a little over 1%, gained 4 pounds of muscle, what I will tell you is I feel much better. My clothes fit different, my waist, all these things are happening, but I need to also make sure I'm celebrating the success I'm having, celebrating the wins. So even though I'm not to my goal, even though I'm not even halfway there, it isn't going to help if I just keep getting down on myself like, hey, why am I not here? Why am I not doing this? I didn't lose it like I used to. I need to focus back on the work that needs to be done. And walking through this process has been an eye-opening experience for me because, losing 5% body fat, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, was something that like it was 1% a week. It'd be super easy. The difference now is I've let myself and the discipline of it fall away. And so it's not quite as easy as it once was. I don't believe it's just because I'm older. I believe because there's a muscle of discipline that hasn't been exercised quite like there was 5 years ago. And so having that change is going to have a significant impact on my health, my body, and those things. And at the end of the day, I started to recognize like, hey, is it really about the 6 weeks or is it about getting results? And at the end of the day, it's about getting results, and whatever it takes for me to get there, I got to be committed to it. And the crazy thing about commitment and the crazy thing about goals is oftentimes it's never the way we envision it. It's always a different way, but we come out of it with a greater discipline and a greater lesson than we ever believed. So that's what I want to talk about today on the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. Also, 2024, we're rolling out a new avenue in habit-based lifestyle. It's the lifestyle component. We're bringing this back. We're going to be talking about the 5 power pillars of health: your physical, mental, spiritual, relational, and financial. We're going to be rolling out a specific program just for this. Again, it is for business owners and executives. So if you're a business owner and you want to get those areas back in balance, back in order, simply just message me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. We've worked heavy in business for the last few years, and what I've started to recognize is the people who seem to do really well in business are the ones that have other areas of their life in order. The ones that tend to not do as well are the ones that have them out of order. So we want to bring that balance back and make sure we're hitting all areas. So that's what we're going to be rolling out. So if you guys are interested in this, we're going to be doing a lifestyle inner circle. I already have a group of guys of about 15 that are in it. They're absolutely crushing it. One of our guys, he's down 36 pounds in 4 months. I got a couple other guys that have lost over 30, and and then we have some guys in our program that are completely transforming their marriage, transforming other areas of their life. So if you want to be part of that, just simply message me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. Also check out our website, check out our Facebook page, and DM me. Let me know what's up, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.